That's his biggest. But I want to thank all of you. You give us hope. You make us strong. I would also like to thank Dr. Diane Ravitch. Support for what we're doing. I think it's the educational equivalent of getting blessed by the Pope. I want to thank everybody that put this together, the whole council art team, board members, teachers, administrators, parents, and students who jumped into action, and they told me what they were going to do. You continue to blow me away. Thank you. I can't leave the thank yous without thanking my wife, Jackie. I've been ranting about this for a long time, but most intensely for the last week. Thank you, sweetheart. I also thank God I was on vacation this past week because I wouldn't have gotten any work done. All right, now we said earlier, today is a celebration. And what we have to celebrate? Parents, grandparents, educators, leaders of government, leaders of unions, of our community. We come from Long Island, upstate, middle state, downstate, out of state. Your presence speaks volumes. And for every one of us here today, there are many more who wanted to be here but could not, but they are with us today. Now, we haven't had much to celebrate in the last 3 years or so, have we? Nope. To a greater or lesser extent, all of us have felt helpless, demoralized, frustrated, scared, angry, frightened for our children's futures. What's wrong? Things have changed so much. They have, haven't they? Well, remember, we, all of us, have been passengers on a plane being built in midair. As our commissioner described his APPR initiative, but applies to so many other things that are happening. There are a lot of planes. The Common Core plane, the Park plane. Well, none of that sad stuff today. None of it. No long faces. Because today, we are canceling our flight reservation. We are jumping off that plane. I don't want you to do it. And you really can't do it. Because that plane barely got off the ground. It never was going to fly very high. It wasn't designed to fly very high. Today's message is a very simple and very important one. The New York State Common Core Initiative, its implementation and testing regimen is hurting our children, and it must stop now. I was hoping you would stand that way, otherwise I think I'm... No one is listening to us. No one. Over the last 3 years, we've tried very hard to be heard. We've asked for help from state admin. They didn't hear us. The legislature, only a few heard us. They're right here. They're right here. And there are a few others, but only a few. The media, we thought they heard us, but the stories usually came out, didn't match what we said. I don't understand that. I was going to say no to you. So what happened? Up until now, no one group has gotten it done. Think about it. Not yet. But not the educational leadership, school boards, superintendents, administrators, with apologies to President Annunzi, not the unions, NYSET, AFT, USD, not even Beth Domino. Now, I want to tell you something. She does everything. She plans the rally, makes the phone call, sends out the postcards and emails, speaks at the rally, gets the food, cleans up afterwards, follow-up phone calls, and plans the next rally. I would have bet. Yeah, let her have it. At the time that she has free, she's in my office yelling at me. But I would have bet the ranch that by now she would have worn them out. Even she couldn't get it done. Well, we'll talk about it. Because we can't let anything stand in the way of what we have to do. We can't. Our state representatives, these two guys can't do this alone. The Southern McGrath has a bill. Let him frame it and put it up on his wall if nobody helps him. I want to say something. That's a good question. But for today, this has to be our only issue. Single-minded. Because otherwise, the attention that's paid to this will be they complained about this or they complained about that. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that the Common Core in New York State, the testing and implementation of the Common Core is hurting our children. It needs to stop now. And then we get to those other things. I'm not saying forget them. Then it's to this. All right. So state representative, even rallies didn't get done. 20,000 plus in Albany. You know, not one word was covered down here on Long Island. Did you guys see anything? Did you hear anything? Call it invisible? Yes. Yes. We can't be invisible anymore. We can't. Other things we know. No one is going to rescue us. Sporadic, separate efforts have not worked. It could. But we're here today. None of the rhetoric that we used in the past has really been effective. It's okay for the moment, but it hasn't pushed it over. So what do? It's clear that we have to find a different way to get our message out statewide. Let's talk about today for a minute. Last Thursday, I wrote a letter to each of our state legislators in light of the release of the test scores. I also wrote a letter to our parents in anticipation of the avalanche of negative press and press releases from the state, filled with lots of spin, lots of magical thinking. What you do now in third grade will determine if you're going to college. Why? Who decided that? Where is there any evidence of that? Nowhere. Magical thinking, they call that. It's when a baseball player wears his socks for 2 weeks and doesn't wash it because that means he'll get a hit. Magical thinking. So I posted these letters on the district website on Thursday night. We're closed Fridays during the summer. Now, normally during the summer, first week in August, that website we get about 30 hits. Friday morning I woke up, my email box was full, crazy, phones ringing, people calling from Texas, people calling from New Hampshire, an email from Indonesia. I'm not lying. All over the state. In fact, he went to kindergarten here, that guy. And he was on Diane Ravitch's blog and said, I'm the guy from Indonesia. And he talked about it. You go on there. It's the one where she said I was a hero. That piece has comments. One of the comments is that fellow from Indonesia. So I knew something had happened. Now, I'm a technology immigrant. You can tell a technology immigrant because a technology immigrant will send you an email, then call you up and say, hey, did you get my email? So I couldn't really figure out for a second what was happening. But I knew it was apparent that some of the things I said in those letters found resonance elsewhere. And they did. And it hasn't. I'm also convinced, because last week, I do a phone message to the district, usually every week, but I did it in preparation for this. So the next day, I looked at my stuff, and there's me talking on somebody's website in Utah. Now, as you can tell if you heard it, it's not really scripted. So I wish people would leave me alone.
We're listening,
Well, I'm a Facebooker now, too. And I'll be going to Twitter. Twitter. But I'm convinced if I sneeze over here today, when I get home and check my Facebook, they'll say, God bless you, put somebody in a list. So what did you learn from this? That's the way we're going to get our message out. Social media. It's also the most effective, no spin, no filtering medicine around. We'll get the news out before anybody else does. Papers are folding because that's not the way people get their news anymore. Right? I say I should read the funny stuff. I have the papers on Sunday. I won't buy news thing. All right, so that's the way this occurred today. That should tell us something. I didn't send this out. I didn't know to put it anywhere. Now I do. But back then I didn't. So social media is going to wait. Because I have to tell you, 20,000 wasn't noticed. The headline tomorrow is going to be, Rella hates Newsday and wants Commissioner King fired. I have no comment on either of those. I am not objecting to that particular view. All right, so what happened to Joe? Now, a great philosopher when I was a boy was Popeye. And Popeye would get to the point in every cartoon where he would say, that's all I can stand. I can't stand no more. That's why I went to that. Any test, they say fancy now, it's the tipping point. Popeye. I reached my Popeye moment. Any test designed to have 70% of the children taking it fail is abusive. Period. Plan designed that way. We were told it was going to happen back last November, December. Any test designed to have 70% of the children taking it fail is abusive. My first responsibility as superintendent is not education. It's safety. That's what the regulations say. I have to provide a safe environment for students, physically and emotionally. There is even a state law outlawing bullying. That's a dignity for all students there. We don't let students engage in this behavior. Clearly, we cannot and we will not let anyone else bully our children. And that kind of bullying, emotional bullying, is much more insidious because you don't see the black and blues. They're on the inside. We've been focusing on our children, and rightly so. But I need to let you also think about it. Our children are connected to families who have been stressed, some severely so, watching their children's upset and anxiety and taking the test, and now awaiting, as Gina said, the impending assault on their self-concept as the grade reports go home. Children are also connected to administrators and teachers, and they have families. They have been under an almost constant assault for the past 3 years, supported by a barrage of sustained criticism in the media. I'm with them every day. I see what they are going through. Now, what do you think their families are going through? We are constantly hearing about how educational system doesn't measure up compared to educational systems in many other countries in the world. I submit that educators aren't treated the way they are here in any other place in the world. Educators are valued. I have to ask the question, what's right about what's going on? What's right about any initiative that puts families in turmoil, puts dedicated people in fear of losing their livelihoods, and now the ultimate obscenity, damaging a child's self-image and altering, perhaps permanently, a child's self-definition? They should be ashamed of themselves. MCD is what amounts to the programmatic destruction of public education. Those who design the programs, write the curricula, produce the assessments, prepare the reports, write the blistering news articles and television scripts, bemoaning our constant failure. And let's not forget, most importantly, those who tally up all that money coming in would be doing none of it if it weren't for a teacher and many teachers. Our parents don't have to wait to find out 6 months later how their kids did. If you want to know how your child is doing in school, ask your child's teacher. Ask your child's principal. I got to reach the teacher the principal. So, the Common Core initiative is implementation and testing regimen that's hurting our children. It must stop now. It must be examined by educational professionals, not business people. We need practitioners, teachers, administrators, academics, people who attended public school for 12 years and also have family members who attended probably don't qualify. Let's look at it another way. I had a knee operation in 1971. And I also have seen a number of doctors over the years, and so have members of my family. So by virtue of that, when I leave here today, I should be able to waltz myself into the operating room at Mather Hospital and do some orthopedic surgery. After they took me out of the straitjacket, I wouldn't be allowed back on the property. That's not happening to any of these guys. Night is day, day is night, and things are getting curiouser and curiouser. The Jabberwocky was next. I also like the Lorax. So that's the first thing. If it can be fixed, first you got to stop it. Put the brakes on. Time out. Then, if it can be fixed, and I have serious doubts whether that's possible, but if it can be fixed, then fix it. If it can't, then throw it out. How are we going to get this done? Well, we have to face some truths. Truth number one, no one is going to rescue us. If we maintain, and I've been guilty of this, if we maintain the belief that the problems we have been experiencing over the last 3 years or so are coming from them doing something to us, then we are helpless to effect change. Only they can stop the pain then. They are not going to do that. Once, however, we recognize that we are also connected to our own problems in terms of a unified voice and not being effective at that, then we have some control over our destiny. Then we can effect change. The tone, in terms of our rhetoric, we need to tone it down a little bit. On one level, it's very satisfying. I'm Italian. I love to yell about that. It raises the blood pressure, but it has not raised serious interest or hasn't generated the response we've wanted. Also keep in mind, and this is really important, they know who we are. They know us. Whatever incomprehensible initiative has been thrust upon our teachers and administrators, their response has always been the same. How are we going to get this to work for the kids? We don't want the kids to feel this. Parents do exactly the same thing. Property tax caps, cutting programs, larger class sizes, reorganizing schools, less activities, paying more, getting less. How are we going to make this work for the children? They know that. They depend on that. That's what teachers do. That's what parents do. We turn ourselves inside out to ensure that our children won't get hurt. Indeed, our children have been the light shining through the darkness of these past years. Walk into any school building. Be around those kids. You don't think about any of these things because you're blinded by the light of the children. And it's not as if we won't continue to behave in exactly the same way, but we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to. Second truth is numbers matter. Numbers matter. One of the first questions I was asked in a phone call last week was, how many emails did you get, Joe? Ding! That stuck in my head. 20,000 wasn't the right number. Social media will be the vehicle for getting our message out, for communicating with each other, and for communicating with the governor, the regents, the commissioner, and our legislators. And then, at least weekly, email, tweet, call. We need to get their attention. It can't just come from here. But remember, there is no more here. Here is anywhere all of us gather together out there. That's where we got to gather. That's the new here. Anywhere we gather together out there. And all of this can be done, ladies and gentlemen, from the comfort of your home. In minutes, we will create moments when we can gather every group speaking in one mighty, unified voice. Think about it. Hundreds of thousands of voices whispering is a mighty roar. Think about it. We will be heard. We will not stop until we are. The Common Core standards have been characterized by some as a grassroots movement. You're not allowed to have a national curriculum. I think it fathers the clause in the Constitution that say education is the right of the states. Of the states. They could say that. $4 billion was dangled in front of the states. And if you wanted wasting that, and if you wanted to get a piece of that, you had to adopt the government for curriculum. So it's a grassroots movement. I want to say something. If this thing goes right in the next weeks and months, they are going to be schooled in what a grassroots movement looks like. This will never happen, I think, separately, as good as those efforts are separately. No matter how good individual efforts are, we must be united. So let today, August the 17th, 2013, be the day that we found our collective voice. We came with our districts, families, communities. We're wearing our school colors, union logos, slogans. Everybody, all at once, shout out the name of your district. I didn't understand anything you said. All right, everybody, all at once, shout out the name of your community. So, we came separately, but we must leave united with a laser-like focus, one issue, one voice. Now let's try it with stop and fix it traffic. Ready? Clean your ass up down. That was before this stop and fix it was strong. Now, every movement needs a unifying symbol. I'm suggesting that the green laces are that. Well, come to think of it, I'm not suggesting it at all. You are. Those green laces will serve as a constant reminder that children are being hurt by what's been happening and what we need to do about it. They were created by two brilliant, passionate, dedicated teachers. I know, don't be redundant, Joe. They most certainly cannot be ignored. They will serve as a constant reminder and also guard against post-event drop-off. You know, I need reminders. I don't know about you. I need it. Like our students, most of us are good learners, but not so good rememberers. Right? This will help me to remember. Every time I look down to tie my shoe, I have to remember this is what's happening to kids now. What am I going to do about it now? All right. So, I intend to wear these every day my secretary, until this is done. Every day. Now, if somebody's going to have somewhere, well, Dr. Rella said if you're not wearing it, then you don't support it. Don't go there. I'm not wearing a pink ribbon. I certainly support breast cancer awareness. I'm not wearing a mosaic ribbon, but I certainly support autism awareness. I need they don't need remembering. That's why they're not wearing it. I need remembering. It also will give us heart when we're walking down someplace, you're coming, you see somebody else with green laces on. Or you're one of us. Yeah. Yeah. All right, now let me restate what we believe and how we're going to act. Now, I know how all of you feel about superintendents and others telling you what to do and shoving it down your throats. And I myself, in my own district, may have been guilty of this once or twice. I don't really recall any times, but it could have happened. So I would like to put this as a motion before this magnificent assembly. A motion to approve the following resolution. Whereas the New York State Common Core initiative, implementation, and testing regimen hurts children. And whereas we believe that our children are a light, a beacon, and that this light is in serious jeopardy of being extinguished by this abusive initiative, Now, therefore, be it resolved. We call upon the governor, the regents, the commissioner of education, and the state legislature to call a halt to it immediately and have it examined by educators. If it is capable of being fixed, fix it. If it is not, then throw it out, scrap it, stop it, fix it, or scrap it. Do I have a second for that motion? Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.